All right, today on Study Ball, we're continuing on our series. I told you earlier in the week that I'm going to go team by team, division by division, and take a look at both offense and defense of each team. Things that stand out, maybe one critical point, breaking down the defense. Again, as everything here on QB Confidential, it's taught from a QB perspective. So today we're going to talk about the Seattle Seahawks. We're going to take a look at their defense, the basic structure of their defense, what you have to handle if you're going to have success against the defense, looking at some key pieces like a Jamal Adams who becomes an X factor in what they do. Let's take a look at the film. All right, so the basis of the Seattle defense, way back to when it was the Legion of Boom, is they love to play cover three. Now, they don't have the corners that they had back in the day, safeties, same kind of thing. Jamal Adams is a great player, but obviously two great safeties back when they were really going well. But the basis of their defense is what I call Seattle cover three. So basically that means we're going to have a middle safety, but in essence, these corners are going to fall back and we're going to have a three deep shell. Three guys covering the deep area of the field, which means we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 underneath to take away basically what I say are 5 zones underneath. And so this is the basic structure of what they want to do defensively as we run it. You'll see it right here. Okay, so they do a great job with their discipline, and oftentimes what's really made this team good is they do a great job with their outside backers kind of pushing with width to the outside of the numbers. And then these guys on the inside, understanding they've got a lot of space to cover, being able to read the defense and what they have read the offense and see what they have structurally, and so they can cover those zones. But you heard me say the Seattle cover three. So I call it the Seattle cover three. I don't know where it stems from. I just remember back in the day with the Legion of Boom, this was a big aspect of it. So when you play a team that has cover three, so again, with these guys playing deep and then one guy in the middle of the field, big areas of concern are what we call the seam area right here. And so teams like to expose that. If you're going to play cover three, we're going to try to hit these seams and get those big chunks there. So what Seattle has done is they use this backside backer to help cover one of these zones so they don't free themselves up. So what will happen is when the offense has 3 receivers to that side, this backside backer is going to open and read the number 3 receiver. If the number 3 receiver goes vertical, you will see this guy turn and run with him. So you can obviously expose this by getting 2 guys into this area, but they're really trying to take away the opportunity for you to hit a seam right here. And that's what makes their cover 3 different. It's not just a basic zone drop, 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 drop. This guy likes to read and help take away a couple different things, and you'll see it right here as Dallas with Schultz tries to run down that seam, right? He's trying to run down that seam. You'll see this backer turn and flow. Rest of the guys will play in their zone, and it makes it a little bit harder to attack them as you would a normal cover 3. And you see it right here. He starts to turn and go. He reads the drop here, reacts and comes up, but he's going to run deep and take away that zone if possible. So you got to find ways to understand that and expose that if you're playing against this Seattle defense. We'll take another look at it right here. So Miami, once again, 1, 2, 3 receivers to this side. So we're going to look at the backside backer. They'll end up dropping here, here, and here. So they've got the same thing, 3 deep. And now sometimes they'll lock up and go man-to-man on the backside. Let him go man-to-man, but everybody else plays zone back behind it. But you'll see the same rules apply here. And now number 3 actually ends up blocking. So this guy is going to look up the next guy and see if he comes over into that zone. If he does, you can see he turns his hips. He's ready to be able to squeeze to that. See the outside backer getting out underneath the numbers because he knows he's got no other threat to this side, and it's good spacing. So they're so good at their spacing. They've had a couple linebackers there for a long time in Wright and obviously Bobby Wagner, that those guys are really good at the discipline of that, gets outside the numbers. Now they're able to make a play on the football. But this is the basis of what they want to do, is this, what I call Seattle cover 3. So off of that, they're going to have different pressure packages. And talked about it in the opening, always got to know where number 33 is in Jamal Adams. He's not as good on the back end playing coverage, but he's really good down here at the line of scrimmage. Whether they're bringing him on pressure, he's coming up to fill in the run game, and he's got great instincts to play in the underneath zones, and that's how they like to use him in Seattle. So you always got to be aware of that. So they're going to give you different looks. They're going to walk these guys up a lot of times. When they walk those guys up, it's really, really tough. We force our running backs to have to come up and fill quickly. We force the offensive line to show where they're going to go in different situations, and we make a lot of one-on-one situations across the line to create some opportunities. And they can walk up here and come from the edges. They can walk up to the middle and they can come from the middle, or they can pop all these guys out and they're still in a position to play their cover 3 as we were talking about. So in this look right here, right, they're showing it. They're showing pressure. Now they're walking back late. What do we got? Same thing. Boom, 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 boom. We've got our cover 3, our base shell, what we want to play all the time, but we got to dress it up and give you some pressure looks off of that. Same idea here. Oh. Same idea right here. So always got to be ready for 33. He loves to come off the edge. Had a number of sacks last year. I think he might even set the sack record for a safety, secondary player last year. So they love to bring him. So you always got to know where he's at. Now Bobby Wagner walks up here, and let's see. They got a number of different pressure packages they could bring. Looks like cover 3 again on the back end, but you have to make sure that they're not bringing anybody and you account for different guys. So in this situation here, what do? Okay, normally it would be outside, inside, inside, outside. In this case, they're going to bring Bobby Wagner right here. So now it becomes outside, inside. They're going to pop a defensive lineman to the inside and use outside. So it simply becomes their cover 3 shell. Once again, they're just going to doctor it up a little bit, give you some different looks, bring a little bit of pressure, and then pop a defensive lineman out to play in space. So you see it right there. They know, they're smart, they've got all their zones covered in cover 3 once again, just using the big guy on the inside and trying to create maybe a little bit of confusion to create pressure on the back end. So it's just their cover 3. It's just a matter of how they do it, different looks. Now there's a little bit of confusion. Quarterbacks running around, did exactly what they wanted to do by simply playing their cover 3 once again. Good play called here, but because they weren't quite sure, the pressure comes from that end. They isolate the big guy here with a hook and an in if they can see it and understand it, but that's what they're going to try to do. It's basic cover 3. A lot of teams say, hey, we know how to beat cover 3. That's easy to beat cover 3, so we've got to doctor it up a little bit here and there to give some different looks, confuse the quarterback, and not allow teams to attack us and get those big plays where they normally would in cover 3. Okay, once again, looks like cover 3 shell. Find 33. Gotta find 33 and see what he's doing as a quarterback. He becomes that X factor. Troy Polamalu type guy. He's there, looks like I know the structure of it, but I always got to peek at this guy to know what he's doing, and that's where he becomes the X factor for this defense, is that you always got the quarterback thinking a little bit extra because you got a dynamic player that can play safety and blitz. Here he comes. Right here, he's going to come off the backside edge. He's going to create an errant throw for the quarterback, or at least a quick throw right here, where now we can rally up and make the tackle. But bottom line is they're really just running back to cover 3 again. And I don't know if all of these are called for Jamal Adams, or sometimes he just gets the freelance of going, hey, if you feel it, go get him because you're really good at it. because basically what happens here is they're going to have 5 guys coming, and they're only going to have 3 guys underneath in this case if he is supposed to blitz there, but they allow him some of that freedom because he's so good at it. Good reaction, force the quick throw. Now let's come up and make the tackle. Here's another look. Looks like cover 3 once again. There's 33. There's the X factor. What's he going to do? Is he going to come? Is he going to drop? Here he comes off the edge. Able to chase that down from the backside, but you just got to be leery of where he's at all times. Nice job by Atlanta to run away from him, but he is just the X factor when he gets up towards the line of scrimmage. All right, one more time. Okay, so we've got our 2 guys walked up in the A-gap trying to create a bunch of one-on-ones. Here comes our man. He's walking down to the edge. What's he going to do in this particular situation? What are they going to get to in this particular situation? Looks like cover 3 once again. Maybe locked up man to the backside with Griffin, even though he's not there anymore. Do they have the personnel on the back end to do this? Here they come. All right, so now we're going to overload this side, bring 1 backer, bring Jamal Adams off of that side, bounce, bounce. So still 1 short in the underneath zones, but we're trying to create some confusion with the pressure. Here he comes off the outside, exactly what they want. They bring basically, if you'll see it, 1, 2, 3, and 4 to that side. So everybody's got to be right. That center goes the other direction. They're overloading with the safety. He comes free. Create the confusion that they want, even though they're a little weak on the underneath zones. Doesn't matter because we believe we can jump it and we can get there with pressure with number 33. All right, the other structure that they like to play on the back end. So it starts with their cover 3, and now they've become a much more of a quarters team. 1, 2, 3, and 4, each playing a fourth of the field. So now what we know is we've only got 3 guys underneath. So you can really expose the underneath portion of the field because you've got 3 guys covering 5 zones as opposed to cover 3 where you had 4 guys covering those 5 zones. So you can really tack them underneath in this particular coverage, but they like to protect on the back end and not give up the big plays, which they gave up a lot of in the early portion of the season last year. But this is the other structure of what they're going to do is simply play a quarters coverage. So you see the back end is protected. Don't give that up, but there's a lot of space that you can work on the underneath portion of the field. In the middle, these guys play match coverage, so they're matching to number 2, and they have to work all the way to the flat if somebody goes out in that direction. So this is the other thing that you have to have a plan against and be able to attack if you're playing against the Seahawks. Another look here at their quarters, right? You see all the space in the underneath zones. So it's match coverage once again. He holds here. Boom. We break outside. There is nobody left because this guy's got to play deep. Okay, we're going to overload this front side here, and we're going to be able to isolate these guys underneath again because we get 3 guys going to that side. You see the space. You see the space as we're getting guys to move, and not as easy to attack over the top, but a lot of things underneath that you can attack them with. So you got to be able to figure out the balance of when they're in 4, when they're in 3. Pretty easy to see on the back end with the shell. All right, then they're going to have some change-ups every once in a while. So they will play some Tampa 2. Boom, boom, hard corner, and then Bobby Wagner in here playing the middle, but then we'll turn and run down the middle of the field. So they will play that, especially in long yardage situations. But as I said, they like 3 and they like 4, and they have some variations off of it. So even though this looks like 2, you're going to see at the last second, this guy is going to drop off, and so they're going to play what we call cover 6. So it's basically quarters up here to this left side, and it would be a half or cover 2 to the bottom side. So it's just a mixture, what we call a combo coverage, combination of cover 2 and cover 4. There you go. You see the corner off. And so the front side, you can treat it like cover 4. 2 guys. We got 3 guys working those underneath zones, a lot of space there. On the backside, you got to treat it like cover 2. Not as much space, corner stays down. We have a linebacker, but now our space is the secondary area, so you got to be ready for this changeup. They will throw this in every once in a while to just confuse you a little bit, just because they like to play a tad bit of cover 2, and they're mainly a cover 4, so they'll switch it up thinking that they can fool you a little bit from a quarterback standpoint. Not exactly sure what you're getting in those looks. All right, and the last part of all of this is just their pressure packages. They do a good job with their pressure. We showed some of the looks already. They love to zone dog different plays. So they'll play some man, but don't have great personnel, in my opinion, to play a bunch of man. So they're more of a zone dog team. So they're going to, what I mean by a zone dog is they're going to bring pressure in different places, and then they're going to bounce different guys off so they can play zone behind pressure looks. A lot of teams, when they bring pressure, it's man-to-man across the board. What Seattle likes to do is bring zone pressures because they're not as good on the back end in man-to-man. And so you'll see a variety of different looks here. So we're going to walk up. Mike Backer right here. Got this other guy hugging. We got 33 right here. Okay, we got defensive end standing up backside. Kind of lets us know, oh, this guy's standing up. There's a great chance maybe he bounces out of there because his hand's not in the ground. But there's a lot of different looks that they've given us. We've already shown a couple of them as they bounce back to cover 3. Let's look at a couple of their zone dogs. So here, we're going to go here. We're going to go here. And it looks like KJ Wright's going to bounce out and play the zone dog here. But he hesitates, and then he comes back and brings pressure late. I'm not sure if that's the right pressure, because as you see it, you'll notice, right, they bounce one guy here and another guy here. So they're trying to play a cover 3 zone dog. They've got no underneath coverage to this side of the field. I thought maybe one of those linebackers should have popped out to cover that zone, but they're going to overload it. They're going to try to bring pressure. But if you don't get there, this is what happens. You see it, all kinds of space here against this zone dog because they left this zone specifically free and they didn't get home on the pressure. They got jumbled up in that kind of mess, even though you see they've overloaded them. Jamal Adams is going to be the free hitter right here, but because of the pressure, he runs into his own guy, can't get to Matt Ryan, and they're able to make a play. But you're going to have to defeat some zone pressures as a quarterback. You're going to have to understand who's coming, who's not coming, where the voids are, where I'm hot, how to get the ball out of my hands. It's key against this Seattle defense. And we'll take one more look at another zone pressure because every once in a while they'll come into games and they'll change it up. Everything up to this point has been a 4-down look. Now they'll change it up every once in a while and they'll go with a 3-4 look. So now we've got 3 defensive linemen. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 linebacker type players, whether it's nickel or not, but 4 linebacker type players. And so now that can give a couple different looks. So we've got 2 linebackers walked up in this particular case. We got another guy walked up here. There's a lot of different variations on what they can do. So they'll give you these different looks because they'll bring different pressure packages out of this, can run all of their coverages that we've already talked about. And you'll see right here. So now we talked about them being a 3-team primarily. So it looks like, hey, maybe this safety's down. This one's going back. Even though they're pressed here, great chance for those guys to fall off and probably playing some sort of cover 3. They can drop this guy, these guys into different zones. They can bring different pressure packages. But here we go. Now we're going to come up here. And it looks like we're going to bring these guys, but we're going to drop them off. We're going to come and bring both outside linebackers here. We're going to leave these corners up. We're going to roll these guys back, and we're going to go to a cover 2. They're going to drop their nose tackle out, and they're going to drop him into a deep zone there, here, and here. So they've got all 5 of the underneath zones covered, as you see right there, right? Got this zone, got this zone, this zone, this zone, and this zone with the safeties jumping over the top. So they're still playing cover 2. But they're able to bring those outside guys and try to put pressure on the offense to figure out, right? A lot of times the backs have to read here and then maybe go out here, or we got to figure out if we're going to squeeze and we're going to go to the edge. So just trying to create a little bit of confusion while still being able to play all of their different zones. And here, meshing it with really a Tampa 2 look where he's coming back, can go deep if he wants. This guy cuts across. He'll settle in there, but now playing a little cover 2. So they will mix in all their different zone coverages with pressure packages just to keep you on your toes, because their base coverages of 3 and 4 are fairly easy to attack if you know what you're getting. So got to change it up with the cover 2s, with the zone dogs, try to create a little bit of confusion and some negative plays by the offense. All right, so there's a look from a quarterback perspective on how you can beat the Seattle defense. You're going to have to beat Seattle cover 3. So basic cover 3, but understanding what happens with that backside backer and being able to create some plays to attack him if he's going to chase vertical. Their changeup is going to be their cover 4. Soft on the outside, try not to give up any big plays. Really good linebackers. We're going to let them play the underneath zones and read everything. But a lot of space to be had underneath, and then becomes the changeup. Basic coverages, we're going to play that most of the time, but we got to have the changeup. Changeup might be Tampa 2 in certain situations down in the red zone, but it's going to be their pressure packages. Is it going to be just 33, milling around, hitting it off the edge? Always got to be aware of him. Or are they going to do their walk-up, double A-gap walk-up, and then bounce people in and out, pop defensive linemen out, and give you some zone dog looks to confuse you a little bit? So not an overcomplicated defense until they start getting into their pressure packages, but they play much more of a bend but don't break type defense. Very disciplined in what they do, but very simple in their approach.